And our next speaker is going to continue on with that path and contribute to us in a very strong way. You know, I have the very big pleasure of introducing Jan. Jan Gelmacher is president, Sprint Business. He joined the company in August of 2016 and reports to CEO Marcelo. But maybe you'll share with us too, by the way, I'm just curious to say. Can you imagine you're Marcelo, you're calling up Jan, you're trying to recruit him to come to your company, which is what we've been talking about, his talent for the last couple days, and the name translates Gelmacher. It's moneymaker. Okay. I'd love to hear how that conversation went. I'm the moneymaker, and if you want me, you'll have to share, I just got to say. But Jan leads the Sprint's national sales and service teams focused on delivering wireless, wireline, and IT solutions to large global corporations, along with small and medium-sized businesses. And along with his mediocre career, before joining Sprint, Jan served as Chief Executive Officer for Vodafone Global Enterprise, the London-based business and unit responsible for defining the strategy and operational execution of Vodafone's relationships with multinational corporations and customers worldwide. Jan also served as Director of Vodafone Enterprise Business Unit, CEO of British Telecom Germany, member of T-Systems Executive Team, and head of International Networks and Joint Ventures with Bonn, Germany-based Deutsche Telekom. And if that's not enough, prior to that, John worked in various management and sales positions at European telecom companies. He started his career with AT&T Global Information Solutions, and he has a degree in business administration from the University of Cologne. Would all of you welcome Jan?
Thanks, Michael. Thank you very much. Well, that was a long introduction, probably longer than my speech, actually. It makes me feel very old. Anyway, no. It's probably a pretty tough job to be the last keynote in an event like this with so many distinguished speakers. And you know, I think we have heard it all, and but not yet from everybody. So it's not up to me to tell you the story again. I think it's pretty obvious that we have a room here full of experts that really understand clearly, you know, what the STEM problem is all about and why we are talking about this issue. I think, however, it is not so clear to many companies out there yet. And I will talk a bit about my experience from talking to many different companies out there of all sizes, right? Small companies, mid-sized companies, national players, international players. I've done that, as you could hear from the introduction, for quite some time. I have a slide deck with me that hopefully should come up now. I would like to share with you a couple of things. First of all, I would like to talk about the sensing boom, because that pretty much influences the way Sprint, as part of the SoftBank group of companies, thinks about the market. I would like to talk about how to master the mega trends, or what are the mega trends at all that we are facing out there. I would like to talk about the imperatives of the speed of business. I would like to introduce you to robotics in business, and we have a great example for robotics in business here with us. It's called Pepper. She is called Pepper. He is called Pepper, so you can choose. And I would like also to talk to you about innovation opportunities coming from technology. And I think when we've gone through that deck of slides, it becomes very obvious why we have to double down on STEM. Okay, let me start, however, with a quote of our chairman. Our chairman is Masayoshi Son. He's the leader of SoftBank Group, and he believes really we are at an edge of a time that moves on very fast. And he just recently said, we are experiencing a substantial boom in the rate at which we are starting to collect, analyze, and glean knowledge from data. It is like the Cambrian explosion, the period during which prehistoric creatures have developed the 5 senses. So this is what we compare our time today to. We have, when we talk about the sensing boom or the Cambrian explosion, in that sense, we are talking about not millions, we're talking not about billions, we're talking about 1 trillion connected devices, connected sensors within the next 20 or so years. So it's a mega boom that we are facing. So what is the difference, however, to the Cambrian explosion? If you look at this chart here, you can see the Cambrian explosion happened in 55 million years. So it was a very, very long period of time in which the life on Earth has developed the 5 senses, and only with the 5 senses, it became a variety of life, and life exploded on Earth. So that was a very, very important time in our prehistoric history. However, what we are facing today is much different from that. It's the explosion in our technology world. It is the explosion in how we work with technology. And if you just think about the last 25 years, it becomes very, very obvious what we are experiencing. We have invented the internet, we have gone through the boom of mobile telephones, invented the smartphone, invented the iPhone, started to invent accessories like Bluetooth devices that we could use to ease our life. And we have moved on into the tablets, into augmented reality, into cloud-based computing, and finally we are moving into nanotechnology. And as of today, you have technology out there where you can put a sensor into an apple while the apple is growing on the tree. And when the apple falls, you can follow the apple through its life cycle until you eat that apple and you digest that apple. And all the sensor is sponsored and is equipped with the energy that comes from the apple. So this is what we're experiencing in only 25 years. And this is what companies out there have to deal with. Now, I think when we talk about the Internet of Things, when we talk about machine-to-machine communication, when we talk about the innovation that is powered by the technology that I've just alluded to, we are sometimes a little bit over the top when we talk about trends. When we talk about IoT today, I would like to compare that probably with 1997, when the internet became available to all of us as companies. We started back then to use a browser on our desktop PC. It was a Mosaic browser or something like that, and we were capable of putting an URL, an address into the browser, and we could access a website. But we couldn't do business with the World Wide Web in 1997. It was just starting. We were far away from trading through the web. We were far away of putting medical records onto the web. We were far away of shopping, like Amazon shopping today, through the web. So that took us some time. And probably we're facing the same thing right now with the IoT world. We are not talking about machines to machines. We're talking about machines that connect to the internet. But soon, it will be machines that connect to machines. It will be devices that connect to machines. It will be machines connected to devices. And basically, very, very soon, everything will be connected to everything that can be connected. And this is why we talk about 1 trillion devices or sensors that are out there that will be connected. And obviously, it's now time to innovate. Technology is driving that innovation, but it's not just technology. It's, I would say, when I talk to customers, 3 mega trends. And I know there are more trends out there. But it's 3 mega trends that probably all of the customers that I talk to, all the companies that I talk to, have in common. One trend is the fundamental change in the workplace. And that's affecting us here very, very much. The second trend is globalization. Globalization is happening. And the third trend is digitization. And digitization is driven by technology very much. Let me please double down a bit on all these 3 trends in one by one. Let's start with the change in the workplace. You can read what is on the slide, but I think it is obvious that today we have a big challenge in companies. Already today, in large multinational companies, we have 4 generations of people working. It's not just the millennials. It's 4 generations. And today you still have the CEO or the chairman or the CFO printing out their emails and marking with a text marker and giving them to their EAs to put it back into the email and send it to the next person. You still have that. But in the same company, you have the millennials that grew up with smartphones, grew up with tablets, and do not understand at all how you can interrupt the digital process in the workforce. So you have to deal with all of that. Soon it will be 5 generations, because the retirement age will increase, and the time that the young people hit the workplace will decrease. So 5 generations in one workplace is what's happening today, and you have to accommodate all these 5 generations that grew up with technology in a very, very different way. The second thing is, I think, that is important to mention here is that young people, millennials that hit the workplace today, do not dedicate their time to one company anymore. They want lifelong learning, as we discussed many times today. They want to work self-employed. And if you look into some countries, it's evolving already very, very fast. For example, in Japan, up to 50% of the employees in large multinational companies headquartered in Japan are self-employed. And talking about security, Jay, what does that mean for a company working with intellectual property when the employees are there to move around in the different competitors around you? So these are the trends that are happening. And driven by technology, the patience of people to work with the tools that companies provide is decreasing. So we are very, very impatient. We want to have the new iPhone immediately. We want to use the tools immediately that are out there to be used. And again, this is something companies have to deal with. And when I say companies, I mean you all understand that. But many, many companies out there don't understand it yet. So they try to dictate the tools that their people are using. So this is a big trend that we have to work with. Connecting people across the world, collaboration across the world is another trend. And that leads me to the second big one, it's globalization. When you run a small business in Kansas City today, you compete potentially with a company in India. The World Wide Web made that happen. The internet made that happen. So you don't supply your goods anymore within the surrounding of your company when you're a small business in Kansas City. You potentially supply your goods from a worldwide marketplace. And the money is moving around the world with a speed that we have never experienced before. Investments from the US into China, investment from China into the US, investment from China into Africa where raw material is deployed. So this is happening as we speak. Companies need to accommodate that and go with the trends. And that leads to new business models and new operating models, because all of a sudden you can't invest into long depreciation cycles anymore. You need to move into faster moving depreciation models where you probably move from CapEx-driven business models into more OpEx-driven business models where you can react to market trends much quicker. Again, this is something that happens within 4 to 5 generations in the workplace. You have to deal with that from a talent point of view and to react to trends or even make the trends happen yourself. And last but not least, digitization is probably the fastest moving trend. And there's lots of examples that we can talk about what does the Internet of Things provoke in the market, how much disruption is actually happening in the market, what is happening when we put a SIM card, a connectivity into a car and connect cars to the internet or connect a car to the OEM. We need to think about that not from a technology point of view. We need to think about that from a customer point of view. So what, for example, the connected car does to the automotive industry is that the first time in the history, the OEMs, the automotive companies like GM, Ford, Volkswagen, Mercedes, and so on, know who's driving my car. Because the car is sold through a dealer to a consumer, and the consumer potentially doesn't even own the car. Maybe it's owned by a leasing company or a bank. Maybe it's an insurance company that interacts with the customer that's driving the car much more intensively than the OEM that has produced the car. So all of a sudden, through digitalization, you get into an end-to-end view of how are your customers dealing with your product and how can you get closer to your customers' customers or your customers themselves. And this is what's happening at the speed of light. And we are not yet talking about self-driving cars and autonomous cars and new business models that come up like shared infrastructure models. Now, I think with all these trends and with the technology trend that we see out there happening, one thing is very, very clear. The things that brought us here, where we are as companies, and I include Sprint into that, will not guarantee our future. We already see that disruption is happening very, very fast, and we are already at a stage where disruptors are getting disrupted by other disruptors. So you see what's happening with Siri when Alexa turned on, right? You are seeing what happens to Uber when Lyft comes up to the play. So you see this disruption is happening, and this disruption is happening much faster. So the things that got us here will not guarantee our future. And therefore, the talents we have today in our companies will not help us to survive in the future. We need the new talents to get on board, and we need to educate them and hire them and skill them and create an environment where they feel that they can really drive and learn. Now, the good thing is there's technology out there that can accelerate the way we innovate. And one example that I brought here to you and with me is Pepper. So Pepper is a robot. It's the first really humanoid robot. It's a robot that uses the senses. It has a built-in sensor for seeing, for hearing, and for touching. It can measure the distance that you are from him or her or it, and it can interact with you in an emotional way. It can read your tone of voice. It can read and see your face and see if you're smiling or you have an angry face, and it can react accordingly. It can react to your interaction in an emotional way. So that's an innovation, and if you meet Pepper, and I invite you all to meet Pepper outside in front of this room, and when you start interacting with them, the real STEM talents immediately start thinking about business models and how to apply Pepper. Now that's the good thing. But where's the good thing, there's always something that is not so good. And the not so good thing is we are not really prepared from an infrastructure perspective to deal with that. If you think about robotic today, as we have it today, robotic is meant to be, for example, in an assembly line to do repetitive things. This is how robotic works today. Networks today do not really allow us to interact with robots in an assembly line with humans. So humans and robots hand in hand or hand in glove, that does not work because the infrastructure does not allow it. When you see deployment of robotics today, you see robotics behind fences. Human beings are not allowed to interfere with the robot that is working in a car production assembly line, for example. Now we have to react to that, and we have to help our customers out there to build that infrastructure that helps them to combine robotics, as one example, with the human workforce and make it interworkable and interactable. So networks in the future need to accommodate that. I give you one example. When a robot works with a human, the robot reacts in the latency that the networks that connect the robot allow the robot to react. Human interaction works with a latency of 1 millisecond or less. So when I throw a ball at you, and you react with 50 milliseconds, you won't catch the ball. If I throw a ball at Pepper, Pepper will never catch that ball because Pepper is too slow. Networks will have to enable that interaction between humans and robots. And for example, 5G, the next generation of wireless technology, will enable us to do that. 5G will have a reaction, a latency time of a millisecond or below. So this is what we have to build up. Networks need to be there to interact with robots in a more intense way. Self-driving cars will be happening with 5G networks with low latency. Smart grids happen in networks that work in the unlicensed spectrum. Networks per se connect applications to the cloud. All of our applications that we're running as customers, for our customers, are happening in the cloud. Therefore, applications become business critical in the cloud. The network that connects to that application needs to be business critical and reliable and resilient as well. Availabilities of network infrastructure of up to 100% is what we need to build with our customers. And the awareness for that is not everywhere there. So we are working on that and consulting our customers and making them aware that if they want to deploy technology as it comes up today, they need to prepare from their infrastructure point of view in order to accommodate that. And I don't have to talk about security because Jay has done that already in a very good way. Now, if you think about robots today, you think about, as I said earlier, about repetitive work. And repetitive work, in assembly lines, for example, dumb work, if you want, stuff that happens as we speak today in assembly lines all over the place. But then there's also the artificial intelligence. And what the next generation of robots will make happen is combining artificial intelligence and the manual work and the mechanical work of robots all together. And I have a nice video for you to show how that can be combined in Pepper. Can we see the video, please?
Meet Pepper, the irresistible brand ambassador that gives your Marcom teams a powerful new way to engage with consumers and gives your sales force a helping hand for those mundane tasks that might otherwise prevent them from building better relationships with their customers. Pepper is designed to be conversant and interact with customers in a natural, engaging way. Created with a unique combination of emotional intelligence and an array of sophisticated hardware, Pepper responds to touch, can listen, and even knows how a customer is feeling. Which is why some of the world's largest and most innovative brands in the retail space have chosen Pepper as their brand ambassador, sales associate, and all-around engagement specialist. Westfield, one of North America's leading shopping centers, partnered with SoftBank Robotics for the launch of Pepper's first retail experience in the U.S. The benefits to Westfield's customers were immediate.
Pepper helps that interaction with the concierge team by providing wayfinding, entertaining, and engaging our customers.
HMS Host is part of one of the world's largest providers of food and beverage services for U.S. airports. Pepper was chosen to be a host at their Pyramid Ale tap room within the Oakland International Airport, engaging with customers and offering food and drink suggestions.
Kids really seem to enjoy Pepper. Very busy environment, it's a stressful time flying. Takes their mind off of that stress and they really enjoy the interactions.
Beta, a new hands-on retail store that allows customers to experience future-forward technology, is a tech lover's dream. Pepper went to work at their Palo Alto flagship store and had such a huge impact that the Santa Monica location chose Pepper to elevate both their brand and store experience during the holiday shopping season.
The traffic was definitely up, as well as the response was very, very positive.
The Ave is a one-of-a-kind store where shoppers flock to buy customizable sneakers. When Pepper took over basic sales associate tasks, the store had one of its best runs ever.
I love observing the customer's reaction, the way that their faces light up when she talks to them, the way that they seem just to get the giggles when she explains to them what the products are and what the process is.
Always available, always engaging, always helpful. Meet the new face of customer engagement. Meet Pepper.
Hi, how can I help you?
So Pepper is a great example to bring the IoT world live, right? And again, if you think the future is unpredictable, you're probably right, because Pepper was developed within 5 years only. And you see how far Pepper has come so far. And if you assume the acceleration of innovation going on, you will experience soon what robots in combination with artificial intelligence can do. We have already implemented Watson into Pepper, so you can have a real serious interaction with Pepper, for example. And Pepper is a great example of how STEM can come to life. All the different disciplines on that chart up here are used and are needed to create something like Pepper. And I think it's much more than that, because the real difference comes when you apply Pepper, the application, if you make it a use case, if you apply it. So it's not just about mechanical engineering. It's about understanding how the world works and what the customers are needing and how to implement it through a tool like Pepper. But Pepper is just a tool. We have seen a couple of examples what Pepper is doing already today. And actually, this is also a bit of a call to action. Pepper was deployed in Japan, although it was invented in France. It was originally a French company. But the first country that adopted the technology was Japan. And we have already deployed more than 10,000 Pepper devices in Japan. And we have great use cases. So Pepper sold for Nescafé, a Swiss company, coffee machines and coffee in supermarkets, and did that very successfully. Pepper is the solution for women that hate to go into car dealerships. With Pepper, they love to interact. And Pepper is an insurance salesman or saleswoman, so it's working. Now, we have introduced Pepper into Europe, and in Europe, Pepper is picking up as well. And now, only now, we are introducing Pepper to the US. So what does it say to us? Are we really quick enough in deploying the new technology, or are we maybe lacking behind? So I believe sometimes the future looks unpredictable. But the future is not really unpredictable, because we know the technology that is coming. We just have to apply the technology in the right way. So I would like to invite you to meet Pepper outside and interact with Pepper and think about how you can build it into your supply chain, into your use cases, in your individual way of accelerating your sales or whatever you want to do with Pepper. It's a great tool. Thank you very much for having me here today.